Hi Stephen, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, Bernard. Yeah, sure.
Good stuff, Stephen. How are you? Okay, Stephen, let's get going. I suppose with the immediate news, it's more COVID issues, more players withdrawals. I suppose at this stage, do you kind of start to feel like you're cursed in some ways?
No, absolutely not. I think this is, the way of the world at the moment, and I think we're talking about people are said a vaccine is imminent and 90% proof. All those sort of headlines have been in recent days. So, you know, hopefully this situation is temporary throughout the world, and certainly um, in Callum's case, obviously he just came in and on the first test um, was tested positive, so he wasn't feeling unwell. So it's just unfortunate for him, really.
I suppose after all that went on in the last window, it must be massively disappointing that we have this again, Stephen.
Yeah, well, listen, that is true. We are. It is the case. That we're disappointed, but that's you've got to deal with whatever comes your way. And I think we're thrilled to be going. It's a great game, great 3 games for us. Um, playing England at Wembley, playing Wales in Cardiff, and playing back in the Aviva Stadium against Bulgaria. So just 3 games in 6 days is terrific, and terrific games to play in for the players, and so we're looking forward to the games.
Okay, Guy Havard from Sky Sports, please.
Hi Stephen, you mentioned the two that are out. Do you have any other doubts for tomorrow? And we're going to be speaking to Seamus straight after this. Are you able to tell us yet whether he will start tomorrow, please?
Yeah, well, I haven't picked a team yet, Guy. To be honest, I haven't picked a team yet. But of course, Seamus is a very important part of uh, of our team, for sure.
Okay, Ed Leahy from RTE,
I don't.
please.
Was there another part of that question? I don't know. Was there?
Any other injuries,
Any
Stephen?
other injuries?
Any other injuries? Uh, Harry Arthur's had a little issue with his calf that ruled him out of a game at Nottingham Forest last week. So we'll see how he is, and we'll make a decision based on that.
Go Ed.
Stephen, how are you doing? Stephen, just wanted to ask you, you said last week that David McGoldrick played in Slovakia with an injury. I'm just wondering, did you know he wasn't 100% fit before the game? And did his club give permission for him to play that game, if knowing that he was injured?
I didn't say he was injured. He certainly wasn't injured. He was fit. He was managing all the players. A lot of players, when they're playing so many games, particularly, some players are playing. Some players have come into camp on the back of four championship games in 10 days. A lot of players are managing injuries. That's the reality. It's not black or white. You're injured or fit. I think they're always managing injuries. That's the reality. David had an abductor issue. He gave everything out there, and it was no real issue.
Okay, the
Thanks.
42, please.
Yeah, hi Stephen. I know that every game is important, but the really serious stuff are the World Cup qualifiers in March. But, like, with a half an eye on those games, do you have an idea in your head as to what your best team is? Or if not, is that an objective of this international window to get that more firmly grasped in your head?
Yeah, well, these are important games. And every game is important. It is, and I think you know it's been well documented. The World Cup seedings status as Group B for the Nations League. The bigger picture has always been the sort of the World Cup qualifiers. Um, Obviously, with some players missing, that would prominent. The 2 players that were ruled out today would obviously feature prominently in our picture for the World Cup qualifiers for sure, without a doubt. Obviously, people like Troy Parrott if he gets regular games, and on the under 21s, Michael Obafemi if he gets regular games, are people who could certainly come into the picture in an attacking sense also, and that's for sure. And I think Yeah, no, I think we've got core group of players with international experience here. So it'll be interesting to see how we go over the three games. I think one of the things about having couple of players ruled out in the manner that they were, is just it opens an opportunity for other players, and it's interesting to see what that brings.
And how frustrating is the loss of Aaron Connolly, given we might have seen him more centrally over these next three games?
Yeah, no, it is. It is very frustrating. I think it's just, Aaron will be a terrific player for us, for Ireland. He's really trying. He came in, and the frustrating part of Ireland's injury is that he'll only be ruled out for 10 days. It's only a 10-day injury, and it just happens that we've three of those games in that period. So it's a very minor grade 1 hamstring strain, very minor, that will only rule him out for a short period. But it was just a deceleration in a training game, and I think it was just very unfortunate for Aaron. And it's that's the way it goes. But it opens opportunities. Adam Ida comes into the picture, and Ronan Curtis and James Collins. So they certainly come into the picture.
Thanks, Stephen.
Okay,
Thank
off
you.
the ball, please.
Thanks, Stephen. I know you've brought in Shawnee Maguire as cover here, but how far outside the picture is Shane Long at the moment?
Now Shane, we checked availability on players. Shane was not available actually. He was in a collision in Southampton in training. He had a tackle, and he's ruled out. Actually, wasn't available at short notice because of the knock he got, and so he wasn't available for selection.
And just given Ed Stevens is unavailable, do you give consideration to playing Matt Doherty at left back tomorrow?
Yeah, we have some options. I think left back has been an issue. Like Derek Williams obviously has been injured and wasn't able to. He was in our last squad, but he picked up a toe injury playing for Blackburn, and he wasn't playing. Other left backs like Johnny Hayes at Aberdeen and Greg Cunningham at Cardiff have been injured as well recently. I think obviously Ryan Manning had a very good season last season with Queen's Park Rangers. Because he was moving, he was somewhat frozen out, so he hasn't played. He's only played 70 minutes really since the start of this season with Swansea, but he is a very good player, and he has got a lot of training under his belt since he got to Swansea, so he'll join up with Jack Bourne ahead of the trip to Wales and the game against Bulgaria.
Ronan Murphy, one question.
Yeah, plenty of steering. Just looking at this England game in particular, do you think it's a good chance maybe for some of the players who are fringe players at their club that are getting a lot of minutes at the moment to maybe step up and show their club managers what they can do? Because obviously a lot of Premier League managers will be watching it because England are involved.
Yeah, well, that's certainly one point of view. It's one perspective, but I think really the players love playing for Ireland. They're very proud. Every cap is important, and when they're ruled out through injury, they genuinely are devastated. A lot of them, and certainly it's I think they'll want to do well. Just initially playing for their country, and obviously playing England is a big game, and I think they'll be keen to do well. So I think that'll be their primary motivation, rather than trying to impress other managers. But I think the primary motivation would be to do themselves justice while playing for Ireland, and try to play to their best of their ability.
And to end the live section, Tony O'Donoghue. Still no Tony? Oh, there is.
How are you doing?
Right.
Sorry I missed most of that.
Sorry.
So I probably missed all your best lines, Stephen. So I don't really know what to ask you, except wish you good luck for tomorrow. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, we are looking forward to it. It's the players, getting an opportunity to play in Wembley against England. Ireland have never won in Wembley in their history, You know, won twice, once in Stuttgart and once in Goodison, 70 odd years ago, and 32, you know, years ago. So it's been a long time. I think it's great to go there. Obviously England are in good form. We've played well in some games recently, the playoff against Slovakia particularly, and we haven't been scoring goals, of course. And I think so. We're looking forward to going there, and we want to perform well. And you know, the players very committed, and we want to go and put on a good performance against England tomorrow.
And I'm sure you probably dealt with this already, but you must be cursing COVID, are you?
Well, listen, there's nothing we can do about that. You know, we can't do anything about that. It's a problem throughout the world, and I was just disappointed with Callum Robinson, because between being a close contact and this, it's cost him 5 starts for Ireland between the last camp and this camp, and he's an important player for us. He's a very important player for us. So I was disappointed for him, because he was really looking forward to this run of games. Obviously, he took being a close contact in the last run of games. While he was disappointed, he showed great dignity, and he came in hugely determined to do well. Spoke to him a couple of times. He was really driven, and then you wake up, your first test, you wake up the following morning to the news that you're positive. So it is difficult for the players, and certainly, you know, it is. You know, from their point of view, there's nothing they can do. That's it.
Stephen, both you and Gareth Southgate have come to the senior team from the under-21s. What benefits and opportunities does that give a manager?
Well, I think, you know, I think the advantages are that you get great knowledge of all of the players throughout the age groups. I think you get great, you know, you see them develop at the different individual age groups. You know what the characteristics are, what systems they're suited to, how they play in within that. Obviously, players can adapt and always improve, but you get to see closer look at their character, you know, their ability to cope in different situations, how they are in how international football suits them, technically how they adapt to international football. So it gives you sort of gives you an overview. So from that point of view, it's interesting. You know, it is interesting, but you know, so that's what I would say.
Because of that, does that give you a greater readiness to throw a young player in at an early stage?
I don't know. You know, compared to what, you know, it's so difficult to compare to you know, to different countries. It's difficult to compare to different countries, but we have shown, we are looking at sort of the bigger picture as well, and we have over the last year, and you know, I think obviously you've seen players coming through the system like Aaron Conley and Troy Parrott and Adam Ida and Jason Knight and Jason Malumbi and Darrell O'Shea, all playing them. The goalkeepers we've got coming through, Queven Kelleher, Mark Travers and Gavin Bazunu, so they're all coming through the system. So that hasn't been the case in recent years, so that's sort of new, but you know, I think you know, so I think that will serve as well over time, and we don't want just that, we want the batch behind them in the future to come through as well, and to have a continuous you know, stream of, you know, production line of talent really coming through.
Okay, Paul Rowan, please.
Hello, Stephen.
How are you, Paul?
Just picking up on that point, how important is it as part of your job, you know, as whether you see it as a success or failure, that you do succeed in bringing players through an Irish system, you know, not necessarily players who are playing club football in England and playing for, you know, Irish underage teams, but that you develop a system within the FAI whereby kids can stay at home and make it through to, you know, right to the highest level. And could you tell us briefly if the current
Yeah, it's quite a broad question. I think I think the infrastructure at the moment would need to improve on a lot of levels for that to really suffice. In terms of getting National League clubs in Ireland to have the infrastructure to have full-time academies the way they do in the Premier clubs in Europe or the Premier countries in Europe. So that would, there has been muted in the past about, a national academy, and should Ireland have a national academy? So that has to be considered, all of that. And I think, clubs themselves are improving, but finance is important, and and facilities are important. So I think this is a big challenge for everyone behind the scenes in football in Ireland.
Okay, Brendan O'Brien, please.
Hi, Stephen. Just a quick one on COVID. Obviously, Callum Robinson's loss is a blow, but there's news that Denmark might be missing up to 20 people because of positive tests, isolating, quarantine. 7 players couldn't travel from the UK over for the game. So, given that sort of
I hadn't heard that. Sorry, I hadn't heard that actually. I hadn't heard that. Sorry, I hadn't heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just an example of what can and
Yeah.
has gone wrong, as you guys saw in the last window. So does that really, does it kind of justify your decision to stay in the UK and reorganise and maybe base yourselves where you have this week?
I don't know whether it does or not. Like, I wouldn't like to try and claim some sort of victory on that. I think you just do what probably you think is the right thing to do at that time. And I think, I was wondering with the situation with Colin, if we had to go to Bosnia, for example, quickly, or had to go quickly, would we have noticed before we went? You know what I mean? Would that have gone? We probably would have, but it just shows you an example, as you say. I wasn't aware of that Denmark situation. Obviously, we've been working here today, and I didn't hear that. But certainly, so I can't say with any certainty that it's the right decision or wrong decision. It's just that we obviously felt it was a safer decision, and we felt it's a great opportunity as well to get great experience for a lot of players and to go and play and the proximity of London, Cardiff, Dublin makes that very viable, and so there was a lot of thinking, and obviously so that's where we've seen it.
Just then on the forward situation, David McGoldrick retiring last week, 2 lads unavailable this week. How difficult has it been, given, especially in light of the team's struggles to just score goals in the last few days? How has it altered your plans in the space of the last 7 to 10 days?
Yeah, well, it won't really alter our plans as such, just the personnel within the plans. I think we'll still approach the game in a positive way. I think they are undeniably setbacks, but I think regardless, we have good players, and the team that's selected I'll be very happy with, and I think we still want to perform well and want to do ourselves justice.
Okay, Paul O'Hare, just be wary, you've got 3 minutes left. 3 minutes left, okay? Paul O'Hare.
Yeah, Stephen, quick one. Just back on Callum Robinson in terms of, I know there was flights involved last month, but just with no close contacts this time around, how does that play out in terms of, movements around the hotel since he's gathered on Sunday? How are there no close contacts, is basically what I'm asking. And secondly, just in terms of England, where do you place England in terms of this current English team in terms of the best teams in Europe?
Right. The second question is a tough question. Certainly, the first one is, we didn't have any close contacts in the hotel previously. In the last camp there were obviously issues with the flights. So I think, we have a lot of protocols that we've had from day one, that we around the hotel, how we interact and you know, social distancing within meal times and meeting times, and you know the players. There's like I had this sort of idea when I took over that I had loads of ideas. I said right, I'd bring musicians in, you know, really good musicians, because there's a lot of downtime, and make it a place where the players would really love playing for the country. 10 days, 11 days can be a long enough time in a hotel. Bring musicians in, have it vibrant. But I was thinking the interactive museum in Dublin, bring them into that, the history museum, a sense of identity, all of that, link all that in. That's what I was thinking, those sort of things. But just could, you know, we just have to sort of just forget about all of that, really. I think, you know, we just have to, you have to live your existence, and got to wear masks, and you got to socially distance, and being players in their rooms a lot, and certainly and there's not a lot. Your meetings have to be less time in meetings and so forth. So these are things that we just have to we have to adapt to, and I'm not complaining about that at all. Not complaining at all. I'm just giving you a picture to the question you asked. In relation to England, where do I rate England? A lot of good teams in Europe. They're one of the best teams in Europe, you know. I think a lot of good teams in Europe, for sure. Germany, Belgium, France, you know, of course, and several others. And they're among the best teams in Europe, for sure.
Owen Cowser from The Sun.
Hey, Stephen. Firstly, what musicians were you thinking of bringing in? Also, have you been to Wembley before?
No, I the musicians, that'll have to remain private, because obviously, you know, that's. But we had a few ideas. But in relation to have I been to Wembley, to answer your question, honestly, no, I haven't. I haven't been to Wembley.
You never been to, or just on your bucket list?
When I said if I'm going to go, I better go as a manager. You know, the best time to go, isn't it? No, I think no. I've been obviously lucky enough to manage in Hampden and the Parc des Princes, and get to go to Cardiff next week and Wembley today, or tomorrow. So, I don't know. It's great opportunity, and I'm very privileged to do that.
Aidan Fitzmaurice.
Stephen, game against England, it's not a normal friendly game. We know that from our history. For the players, there's personal rivalry because they know the players from the Premier League. There's also the history. Is emotion a good thing or a bad thing in a game like this?
The emotion of the Ireland-England rivalry, Aidan, is it?
Yeah, well, for the players themselves, you know, can emotion be a positive or can be a negative as you're so fired up?
No, I think. Listen, the players are just looking forward to going out and playing and getting a chance to play for Ireland, and obviously it's a friendly game against England. I think so. They're looking forward to it. Really, I'm not so sure how emotional they'll be. I think we want to play well. You know, I think we want to play well ourselves, and you don't get the. You know, it's interesting speaking to Keith Andrews and Damien Duff. You know, even though in their careers, neither of them ever had a chance. Neither of them ever played for England, or played against England. And Damien's 100 caps. So it hasn't been a fixture that's been all that frequent. You know, when you consider that. So it's so the players look forward to it, and they look forward to the other games. 3 games, I feel. And the other games are in the Nations League, of course. But it's a good game for them to play in.
And to finish up, Charlie Wyatt.
Hi there. Just on the topic of the Ireland-England games, how great is it to have this fixture back? It's the 3rd time in 7 years. Obviously, we know why it wasn't for 18 years. And you know, there have been fans. Have they been allowed? How good is it that we've got this game back now?
Yeah, no. Listen, it's a fixture that people are very interested in. I'm sure in England and in Ireland, and I think it's. You're right. Support really makes it special. When you've got, you know, a full Aviva Stadium or full Wembley, you know, of course that's really really adds to it. The connection between supporters and players is really makes the game special, you would feel, and certainly we don't have that. It's an empty ground. That sometimes is surreal, but ultimately there's still a match to win and a match to compete in, and we have to make sure, do everything we can to try and play well and do ourselves justice, and show that we can, and show our players show they're a good team.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. We'll have to end it there. Seamus Coleman is waiting outside, so thank